like we were talking in the office, questions. How old are you now?
I'm 58 now.
58 now. How old were you when you very first started your period?
I'm going to say probably like 7th grade.
Okay, so pretty average.
Average,
13
yes.
or so.
I think so.
Through most of your life, were your periods pretty regular?
Absolutely.
In your 40s, did they change in any way?
Not really.
Still very predictable, once a month. How many days did you usually bleed?
And it changed as I got a little older, too. 3 or 4.
Okay, so just a normal couple-day flow. Was it ever anything very heavy or excessively light?
Again, that changed as I got a little older, but when I first started, no, not really.
Okay, so
not anything unusual at all.
Nothing to think about at that point in life.
Great.
How many times have you been pregnant?
I have never been pregnant.
Any surgeries prior to this surgery?
No, not at all.
Been in the hospital overnight for any reason?
Well, I had a broken leg when I was in the 8th grade.
Okay, so just normal kid stuff?
Yes, and tonsillitis, tonsillectomy.
Tonsils, okay. What about ongoing medical problems? Through your 30s, 40s, were you under treatment for anything?
In my late 40s, I started taking some blood pressure medication for high blood pressure, and the only other health issue being that I'm heavy.
So just a little bit of blood pressure. Was it controlled pretty much with one medication?
Yes.
Had you ever had your blood sugar checked?
No.
Okay. So at that, and when you hit about 50, 51, were you still menstruating regularly?
Yes, I was having some bleeding. I can't really remember when my periods exactly stopped at that time, when they were just...
Did they ever really stop?
Yes. It wasn't like a period. I'd have bleeding, but it wasn't really a period per se.
And it wasn't, by that, do you mean they weren't regular, or that it wasn't?
It wasn't like 3 or 4 days, and then it'd stop, and then I'd go... I was just having bleeding a lot. Not a lot, but I mean often.
Okay. So got into your early 50s, and there was no pattern to it, but you still bled pretty frequently.
Yes.
When you came to see me...
Well, maybe early 50s doesn't explain that as well as it should. Maybe that would be more 53, 54.
So really at 53, 54, you were still bleeding on a pretty regular or frequent bleed basis. Yeah. Okay. Any hot flashes at that time?
No. No, but I'm warm a lot.
Okay.
I often thought, is this a hot flash or am I just hot? So I always thought that would be a symptom that I probably wouldn't be able to tell if I had one or not, because I just tend to be warm. So, but from what people describe as a hot flash, I don't think I had them.
So you really never had anything that you said, this is menopause.
No.
I'm hot flashing, the periods have totally stopped. Nothing.
No.
Right before you were diagnosed with cancer, what was the bleeding like? Do you remember that?
Every day. It seemed like every day, some part of it, one time during the day, I would just have a heavy flow.
Okay.
And then it would just be like a heavy flow, and then that would stop. And then I would just not have any bleeding, and then the next day would be the same pattern day after day.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was just, is that some kind of odd end of menopause? I didn't really know, because obviously I was at the age that I should have been having.
Mm-hmm. What age were you actually at diagnosis?
57.
So at 57, you were having at least one time a day where you had a full flow, and had never really had a prolonged period like a year or two without any bleeding.
Right.
Okay, we're still having some. You then had the biopsy, which showed the cancer, sent you up to the oncologist, and underwent the radical hysterectomy for that. How did you do with the surgery?
Excellent. Except I had a little trouble with my wound. I had a wound, or I had my incision, had a wound, and I didn't want to heal up. So that took a little longer than expected, but in the end, everything turned out really fine, and there wasn't any problem, and I feel really good.